Okay, so we're getting ready for Hanukkah. Hanukkah is just a week away. So although Parshas Vayeshev is coming up, I thought that we would discuss some points about Hanukkah. And I think there's a lot to take from Hanukkah. Specifically this year, we're in the year of COVID-19. So Hanukkah plays a different role. And I think over the last year, people have experienced different challenges, whether it's personal challenges, whether it's parnasa challenges, communal challenges, and for some people it was a moment of feeling like they're in the dark or alone. And I think this is really where the story of Hanukkah comes in. Hanukkah every year appears in the darkest moments of the year because it's the only holiday we celebrate in the peak of the winter, where the nights are the longest. This week is actually the longest nights, and the days are the shortest. It's in the middle of the winter where it's cold and rainy outside. It's the only holiday that we have at the end of the month and not in the middle of the month. The middle of the month, even at nighttime, you have a full moon. Whereas here at the end of the month, the moon wanes to the point where there's a full day where you don't actually see the moon, and you have Rosh Chodesh in the middle of the holiday. And and therefore it represents a time of darkness, a time of being alone. You light the Hanukkah candles in a low place, because this is really what Hanukkah is all about. Hanukkah was the place where the Yevanim they darkened our eyes. Hichshichu as a name Shel Yisrael, says the Medrash, they made our eyes dark with their decrees, and we felt that there is no hope. Where are we going? And we know what's the biggest fear of people? What are we scared of? Try to think of the things that you're scared of. Why are we scared of those things? We're not scared of difficult things. We're scared of the unknown. We're scared of things that we don't know what it's going to be like, where it's not clear for us, where it's vague. And that's really the fear of darkness, right? We have conquered the night. We don't even know what fear of darkness is because we have lights everywhere. We have flashlights. We pull out our phone, we pull out our this, and we turn on the flashlight because we're so scared of the dark. I don't know if any of you have ever been out there in the desert in the middle of the night where it's pitch black and you have nothing on and you don't even have a flashlight. It's scary. It's scary. It's because there's the unknown. You hear a noise, you're like, oh, what's that? Where's it coming from? We're always scared of the unknown. And Yavan represents that choshech, and it represents that shichach of the Torah. That's what it says, that the word shachach, forget, and the word choshech are the same letters, because Yavan tried lahashkicham Torasecha, to make us forget the Torah. And that was the choshech, that was the darkness that they have brought on. Now, what's amazing is how the Chachamim instituted what they instituted to be the form in which we celebrate Hanukkah. What was the takana? What is Hanukkah? V'kavu shmonat yemei Chanuka elu. We say this in our prayer of Ala Nisim. They instituted these 8 days of Hanukkah. V'kavu shmonat yemei Chanuka elu lehodot ulehalel, to say thank you and to say halal. Now, what does it mean, lehodot ulehalel? Right? Lehodot means to say thank you. Okay, we say thank you all the time. So why is it a special, we say modim in our davening every day, right? So what does it mean, lehodos, to say thank you? Ulahalal, what does lahalal mean? So I think lehodos, we have to understand what real hodaya is, what real appreciation is, because we live in a generation where it's really hard for people to say thank you, to be real modeh, because number one, we take a lot of things for granted. We take things as a given. And because we take things for granted, when they get lost or they get broken, so we just buy new ones, right? Try to think in your kids or your grandkids' schools or camps, summer camp, right? The end of summer camp. How many items of clothing do they find? They have a whole bunk full of items of clothing, of different articles of clothing, and it's because people don't have that appreciation. They don't have the same appreciation I would say for items as much as you do, perhaps. I remember when I was a kid, I'm sure you remember this as well. When our shoes were a little bit ripped, we would go to the tailor. We would go to the chayat, and that's the tailor for our clothing, and we would go to the sandlar, to the shoemaker for the shoes, right? Who goes to a shoemaker nowadays? Right? There used to be a shoemaker on Karen Kayem, right next to the Doar, Sandlar. I don't know if he's still open there. I haven't seen him open there in a long time because the business is out. Because it used to be your shoes you valued your shoe, you valued something that you bought, and if it broke, you took care of it and you fixed it. Nowadays, it's a little rubbed out. We'll buy a new one. We'll just get another one. So we're ready to replace our articles of clothing. If something broke, we'll just replace it. We'll buy it. It's the new culture of the new thing. It's because we live in such a society, you can buy and you replace things. And unfortunately, when you can replace your clothing and you can replace your new phone every 2 years, you have to replace it and you have to upgrade it. So then people might replace their relationships when it's a little bit broken, when it's a little bit hard, because they don't appreciate it enough. So they'll end up replacing their friends and maybe replacing their spouses and maybe replacing other types of relationships. Because if you grow up in the culture where everything is replaceable, so then maybe relationships are also replaced. I'll just get a new one, right? And that's the number one thing why people have a hard time to appreciate it, because you have to choose to see it. And that's really where Neiros Chanukah come in. You see, everyone of us has experienced some sort of challenge in the last year. We can't deny that. We've been indoors, COVID-19, so many different challenges. But within those challenges, there always is different moments of opportunity. Within those challenges, there are always different moments of light. But what do we choose to see in our day? Are we choosing to see the difficulties that are there? Or are we choosing to see the moments of light, of inspiration, the moments of connection, of something positive and good? And that's what we're choosing to see. See, the Neiros of Hanukkah, it's the candles of Hanukkah are specifically lit in the darkest place, in the darkest time of the year, in the darkest period of the calendar of the lunar month. And we say, שאין לנו רשות להשתמש בהם, we don't have permission to use the candles, אלא only לראותם בלבד, only to see them. There's an Indian to see the candles. In fact, there's a mitzvah that applies to Neiros Chanukah that doesn't apply to any other mitzvah. Any other mitzvah, if you do, the mitzvah is to do it yourself, right? You eat matzah, you shake the lulav, you come and you hear the shofar, whether you're doing it individually or communal, but you're doing the mitzvah yourself. What happens if you cannot do the mitzvah yourself? Can you make a bracha if you're not performing the mitzvah? Let's say I don't have daled minim, but I see my friend in shul on Sukkot that he's shaking the lulav. Do I make a bracha because I see him doing a mitzvah? No. Only if you perform the mitzvah do you actually make a bracha. When it comes to Neiros Chanukah, there's a mitzvah. It's called Birchas HaRoeh, the bracha of the roeh, of the somebody who sees the lights that are in other person's window. It's a unique bracha that you say only if you don't have a house at that night, you're traveling, you don't have a place to stay, you're really patur from the mitzvah, but you see somebody else's mitzvah, so then you make it. We don't pass it like that, halacha l'maisa. But there's a concept of making a bracha by just seeing the candles. We don't have permission to use them, only to see them. The candles of Hanukkah are here to teach us a lesson. Look for the light. Focus what you're choosing to see. See the light in the darkness. See the light in the darkness. And that's really what the Chashmonaim taught us. It was suicide. It was dark. There was no chance. There was no hope. But they were focusing on that little glimpse of hope, on that little bit of light, that there's a chance to make a change and to make a difference. And that's really what Hanukkah is all about. Yeah, it was a difficult year, but maybe some good things came out of it. right? We have a weekly shiur that we meet together. That's something good that came out of it. I'm enjoying it. We meet twice a week. We meet more times a week. We have different shiurim that came up that we didn't have before. We have other types of interaction. Before, I didn't even think about communicating with my kids or grandkids over Zoom. And now, before they were in a different country, now I'm seeing them much more because they have it and now I have it and we're more using it. There are a lot of good things that could have come out of it, even though it's difficult. I'm not denying all the difficult, things that we have in our lives, but we get to choose what do we want to focus on. And by the way, when you choose on the positivity, it changes the whole avira. You have certain people who are by nature more negative. The topic of conversation is always a little bit, it's more negative because that's also a way of drawing attention and good conversation. Oh, it's so difficult. Oh, you don't ask. Last night, oh, I couldn't sleep. I was tossing and turning all night. You have different people. Now those are all true, and all the things there. And when we have challenges, we have to be able to speak them out and to talk them out and to discuss them and to solve them. But when we introduce it with a moment of light, with like, I had a difficult time, but this is what's giving me energy. Or I had this great thing that happened to me, but I still have certain issues that I need to tackle. The amazing thing about a small light, even if it's really, really small, is that it illuminates a room full of darkness. So yes, it could be that we went through a time period which was a room full of darkness, but a little bit of positivity, a little bit of light could change the entire conversation, could change the whole dynamic of the whole conversation. And that's really what the Neros Chanuka are teaching us. They're teaching us, number one, is you have to choose to see the light. And I'll share with you a story. I think I've shared it before about I have the paper. I have the paper at home. I have to really show it to you. It was somebody who came up to my father at the end of one of the shiurim. His name was Simcha, and he says, Rabbi, I have to tell you this story, and you have to share it with the whole world. His name was Simcha, and Kishmo Keinu. He's full of energy, full of positivity, which I think that's part of why this story was so appropriate for him. And he gave my father this piece of paper, and he says, I grew up in Poland, and he was taken, unfortunately, to the different camps. And he says, when I got to the darkest moment where they took away not only my whole family and all my possessions, but they took away my name and they gave me a number. He said, that's the darkest moment a person could be in. But he said, when I was laying there on the barracks, and he wrote this down in the thing, he said, I started counting the digits on my arm, and I counted them up, and they added up. It was 9, 6, 1, and then there was another 9, 1, 0, something like that. He said the numbers added up to 26. And he was a Haimish Yid from a Hasidic family who's into gematrias. He said, I counted it up, and it was 26. This was the first night after he got the number. And he says, I was so broken. It was so dark. But then that was my moment of light. And I chose to see that Hashem is on my arm. Hashem tzilcha li'ad yaminecha. He said, with that, it gave me so much chizuk. It gave me so much hope. I knew that I was going to get through this, that Hashem is with me. He's in my right arm, and he's going to take me through this. And every time when things got dark, I would look down at my arm, and I would say, Hashem, you're here with me. You have to lift me through this. It was a moment of light in the darkest moments of world history, but that's what got him through it. And then the Chachamim said, this is where I want to elaborate one more nakuda, is not only is it enough to choose to see the good that we have in our life, but you have to be lehodos, you have to articulate it, you have to say it with words. And not only to say it with words, but to go into specific details. We all say thank you a lot. We have good manners. So we say thank you to the bus driver, we say thank you to the waiter. We teach our children and grandchildren to say thank you, be nice. But that's not a real thank you. And we've discussed this as well. A real genuine thank you is only when a person is able to articulate with words and specific details his appreciation for somebody that is close to him, that really helped him out in his life. Try to imagine of a person that really helped you in your life. that you're really grateful for him. And then try to write him a letter with details explaining why you're grateful. You were there for me when things were hard, and you didn't give up on me, and you called me, and you said this, and you did that, and you came to me, and you brought me food, and to write the things of all the details of why we appreciate that person. It could be our spouse, it could be our parents, it could be our children, it could be our grandchildren, it could be our best friend, it could be our neighbor, it could be our coach from high school, it could be our teacher from yeshiva or from elementary school. It doesn't matter. If there is somebody out there who one time believed in you and did something that was meaningful for you, and you're able to articulate with words, whether you're writing him a letter and calling him up, or whether you are writing him a letter and sending it to him, but it's best to do it in real conversation, something amazing happens. That's called lehodos. That's called real thank you, because real thank you, Rav Hutner in Pachad Yitzchak on Chanuka says that lehodos comes from, there's two words. There's saying thank you, ani modeh lecha, and then there's saying ani modeh means I admit. To say thank you really means to admit that you need somebody else in your life. That's why it has two explanations. I admit that I need you, and that's hard for us as individuals because I don't need anybody. I got it all myself. But no, if I admit that I need you in my life and I can articulate it with words, so then that's what it means, lahodos. And you know what happens? It fills us up with simcha. And if we're going through a dark period and we see the light and we see the people who helped us out along the way and we say thank you to them, and we say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for being there for us and that he gave us that moment of light, that is what it means to say lahodos, is to say real appreciation, real thank you, is seeing the light, being able to admit that you need Hashem in your life, that you need your spouse, your children, your parents, whatever it might be, your best friend in your life, and then to articulate it with words and to write it to them and to say it to them. That fills us up with light. And then that brings us to lahala. Now, what's lahala? Lahala is a higher dive. Lahala is when you are able to say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the people around you. And by the way, if you can't say thank you to the people around you, you can't really say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It might be a fake thank you. It's sort of like a manners thank you. You have to be willing to appreciate people in your life, and then you could really appreciate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you have to, and when one does that, he gets filled with light. He gets filled with simcha. And that's what lahala means. Lahala means is to spread the praise to everybody. Hala literally means to sing it out loud. Now, what does to sing it out loud mean? It means that you are radiating light and appreciation to other people. You become a person that is filled with light, that is sharing it to other people. That's why the Kabbalists teach us that our face is just like the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash. It's the same thing. Why? Because how many candles were in the candle in the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash? It was 7 candles. Now, our face has 7 openings, and it looks exactly like the menorah. You have 2 ears, you have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, and 1 mouth. It's like the menorah. Why is that? Because our face is supposed to be shining forward. It's called lehair panim, is to light up somebody's day, right? What does it mean to light up somebody's day? That you come over and you appreciate him, and you say a compliment, and you lit his day. And I'll tell you what, the miracle of lehodos ulahala is greater than the miracle of the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash, because the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash was enough oil for 1 day, and how long did it light for? It lit for 8 days. But when you light up somebody's life, you know how long that light could last? It could last for generations. It could last for a lifetime. You made his day. He was down. He was depressed. It was so hard for him, but you were positive. You saw the good. You were filled with light. You were willing to articulate it to other people, to express it, to say thank you, and to give them a compliment, and to shine your light, halal, to spread that appreciation to other people. That is the nace of Chanuka. That's why v'kavu shmonas yemei Chanuka elu lehodos ulahal. This was the gift that Chazal gave us into the winter and into the darkness of Gullus. It's the last miracle that happened. It's the last holiday that was nikva by the Chachamim, by the Tanaim of that time. And they were kovea it as a holiday, sort of as a gift for Gullus. We will enter times of darkness. We will enter times of difficulty. However, this is really it's in our hand. Are we going to choose to see the light? Are we going to understand that we admit that we need other people, we need Hashem in our life? Are we going to articulate it with words so then we will be filled up with the light? And try, by the way, this is really my homework for you guys, is maybe to write on a piece of paper. Try to write somebody that has done something powerful for you in your life. Someone who has touched you, who has impacted you. It could be, like I said, it could be a spouse, it could be a teacher, it could be a friend, it could be a child, it could be a parent, it could be anybody. But somebody who has impacted us and we have appreciation. We'll write their name on the top of the paper and then write a letter and write 5 things of why you appreciate them and why you have a karsa tov to them. And then send them that letter or call them up and read them the letter and say, I just want to read you something. And you read them the letter. I guarantee you that it will fill you up with so much light, but I want you to try it out for yourself. And I would love to hear feedback from you as to what it has done for you, what it has done for them, and how the light has spread forward. And that's really our mission on Chanuka, is V'kavu Shmona Simei Chanuka Elu, they've kovea these 8 days of Chanuka, lehodos ulahala, to praise, to say thank you, and to praise Hashem, and to spread that light. May we be zochet to spread that light, and may that light last for generations. Yeshar koach, everybody, for coming, for staying, for appreciating. I appreciate this year so much. It does so much for me. And Mirza Hashem, we'll meet at Simchas.